Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott Peters. I'm a PEO and co-founder of Construction Robotics. A couple housekeeping things. So if you have questions that you want to ask along the way here, there is a Q&A section on the Google Meeting in the, I think the lower right-hand corner of your screen. You'll see a triangle, square, circle. If you click on that, there should be Q&A that's listed there. You can go ahead and jump into the Q&A and ask questions if you want. And we'll try to answer those questions at some point along the presentation or as we go. Again, welcome for those of you who are joining. I think, probably a lot of different varying backgrounds as far as experience with the MULE and understanding of our product, Construction Robotics products, the MULE. But excited today to give an overview of all the latest and greatest that we have going on with the MULE. A lot of exciting stuff out there and continue to come out. So again, we'll get into it. So today we're going to cover a handful of things. The first thing is just ML 150, MZ 100 overview. So including the bases, the mast, the grippers, all the parts and pieces that go with the MULE. We'll go through both of those. We'll compare the two different products, show you what they're all about. And then we'll talk about how to identify some of the best jobs for the mules and ensure success on the projects, as well as digging into some of the best practices that will save you time in the field, and even get into a little bit of some of the bid tips and tricks and how to win more jobs and how to be successful in implementing mules. So we'll start to approach a lot of it. There's a lot of content here. We'll probably go for roughly 45 minutes, maybe to an hour, leave some question time at the end. A lot of content, and there will be a lot of follow-up opportunities for more presentations. We hope to do more of these type of things with very specific topics going forward. So, all right. For starters, one thing that I think we've learned that's really amazing about the MULE is obviously when you get your hands on the product itself, when you can lift blocks and make them weightless, that's a game changer. So our amazing offer to you is that we encourage you to try it out. So the best way to experience the MULE is to actually try it out. And we have demo mules that are available, whether it's working with our dealers or ourselves. We have opportunity to try mules for short periods of time. And so we really want you to apply for a free MULE demo. There is an application process. We want to know a little bit more about you, and there are some terms and conditions as far as length of time where we can do it. But we encourage you to try MULE out. You'll get a follow-up email at the end of this. You can put questions in Q&A, and we'll get you information on how to apply for that. But the best way to experience the MULE and really understand what it's all about is to apply and get your hands on the product itself. It can be a game changer. So just to start high level about construction robotics and our core technology, it's really all about impacting some of the biggest challenges that you guys have out there in the construction world today, right? Labor shortages, we constantly hear about this, finding good labor, retaining good labor, it's always a challenge. Health and safety is definitely a problem. Injuries are very expensive and can continue to be a problem. And, productivity, right? I think the industry trends speak for themselves. Productivity isn't what it once was. You talk to Nathan that have been in the industry for a lot of years, they'll tell you that productivity isn't what it used to be. And there's a lot of different reasons that are driving that. But at the end of the day, these are some of the biggest pain points that we continually hear from the contractors out there. And one of the greatest things about the technology, I think, that the MULE brings to the table and what we have in our solution is that we can impact all of those, right? So we impact the labor shortage, we impact health and safety, we impact productivity in a positive way for your business. And it takes time to learn, it takes time to adopt, it takes time to really see the true fruits of those benefits. But we'll cover a lot of that today on how to accelerate that process and that learning curve. So start with a quick video for those who haven't seen the MULE in action. We've got a ton of content on YouTube, a ton of different pictures, videos on our website, but this is the core of what the MULE is all about. We can make that up to 150 pounds with the ML 150, 100 pounds with the MZ 100 weightless. So there is a 80-pound, 32-inch long block, and it just floats into place. So when you pick it, it floats. You can reach out, grab that material, zero strain on your body, your back and your shoulders. And there's some other videos at the end as well, but I encourage you, a ton of content online as well, and check it out. So MULE stands for Material Unit Lift Enhancer, and it is a smart lift assist technology. So it can make heavy objects feel weightless while allowing the worker to work directly with the material. We primarily lift masonry material today, but we can lift anything. So we can make any construction material feel weightless. But again, primarily today it is It is block, brick. A lot of our off-the-shelf grippers are focused in that masonry industry, but we're lifting more and more products, and we'll talk about that in some of the gripper section. But if you look at the graph in the upper left, it kind of explains where our technology fits into the overall picture here on construction sites, right? If you have dexterity on the left-hand column and you've got your weight of the material along the x-axis, there's a lot of products in the construction industry that lift heavy things, right? I mean, we've been doing this forever. Cranes and telehandlers and all sorts of things, lifting heavy materials. And now there's exoskeletons. There's a lot of great products out there to supplement back and body injuries and handle, soft tissue injuries, things like that. But there's what we consider a little bit of a gap, right? And that's really, call it between 30 pounds and eventually 1,000. Today we get up close to that 200-pound range, eventually higher. But in that range, these are things that when you're lifting them multiple times every day, you're creating injuries, you're creating problems. And the Mule makes that weightless. It makes that process weightless, potentially takes a 2-man operation, makes it a 1-man operation, make that material feel weightless. And so that's really the sweet spot of where the Mule technology, the smart lifting technology, fits with both our products today and more to come in the future. So we have 2 products out in the marketplace today. The ML150 on the right-hand side is it's a product that's been out there for quite a few years. We have tons of them in the field, a lot of hours, a lot of experience, like millions and millions of blocks with these machines, and really tried and true. I'll talk about some of the features of that product. And then we have the MZ100, and that's a product that launched just back in January. We've got quite a few of them out in the field, and getting super positive response as well. And so really excited to have both products available, and we'll expand more on kind of the different benefits, pros and cons of each of these products if you're evaluating which one might be the right fit for you. So this is into some of the product overview. On the right, you got some of the specs according to the 2 mules. What you see in the picture is just the arm. That's really what we call the Mule arm. And the MZ100, a little bit lighter than the ML150. It has a 100-pound capacity versus the ML150, which has a 150-pound capacity. And then, same horizontal arm, so 12-foot arm. Vertical travel, you'll get about 20 feet on the MZ100. You get about 11 feet of vertical, 10, 11 feet on the vertical travel on the ML150. So just really comparing the two, if you look at the left-hand side, the ML150, it's really optimally used in outdoor applications. If you're lifting heavy materials, you're doing stone veneers, you're building, block walls off the ground, off scaffold. I'll talk about different mobility setups, but if you don't have any overhead restrictions, that ML150 is a tried and true proven product. Really excellent results with it. And one of the other really added benefits is flexible grippers, right? So we have a higher lift capacity to 150 pounds with it, expandable up to about 180, 190 pounds with special software and special application analysis. We have off-the-shelf grippers, quite a few off-the-shelf grippers with that. You'll see that in one of the upcoming slides. And we can do custom grippers. They're also available. And even get into vacuum grippers. So there's an air compressor on board with the ML150. It is a 110 plug, so plugs into a generator, running off an inverter generator. And allows you to have access to pneumatic grippers, vacuum grippers, things like that. The MZ100 was just launched in January. It is built to work in tighter spaces. So we significantly reduced the head height loss of the MZ100, so you can get that last block closer to the ceiling when you're working under roof. So it's really optimal if you're doing a lot of parking garages or interior work with the mules. And it is a 100-pound capacity, but again, that'll handle most 32-inch block, most standard, 12-inch split face, most units that are out there, and even some of the veneer stone. And one of the other big benefits is it's battery powered. Really, it's one of the first of its kind out there that's a battery powered smart lifting product. We're really excited about it. Lithium-ion battery will operate about 30 hours of runtime on a job site and last about, and then recharge in about 3 hours. So you can get quite a few days of operation, and it recharges. It has sleep functions and things like that to extend battery life. And then it has a compact 3-arm design, so that allows it to get into tighter spaces. And actually the center link on that mule is removable as well. So you can reduce it from a 12-foot arm down to an 8-foot arm if needed, if you were working in really tight spaces. We also have IoT data, and I'll touch on that later. One of the new pieces of technology that was integrated in this MZ100 is that we get real-time data on that. It is an option that's available on mules that you can opt up for. And then we have this innovative belt, lifting belt, which reduces some of the rebar interference. So on the ML150, we've got our air coil cord, our data coil cord that come down to the controller. on the MZ100. We don't have that. So we've eliminated that, which allows you to work in some of the tight rebar situations a little bit easier without interfering with those cables. All right, so we'll spend a few minutes here talking about why the Mule, really essentially getting into the ROI, the value, what this can do for your business, what this can do for your workforce. So the benefits of smart lifting technology as a whole, we'll kind of hit on, 4 key areas. You got workforce, helps with labor challenges, extending careers and attracting new talent. We spend a lot of time training next generation workforce, going to different events, showing off the Mule, showing the next generation workers that there are other new technologies coming into the trade to hopefully help expand the pool of masons that are the future workforce and really open that up. So it's not just the ex-linebackers out there, the big strong guys that are putting block in the wall, but it really opens up that workforce quite a bit. And so that's been a huge win. From an ergonomic standpoint, we eliminate the fatigue, the wear and tear, the injuries associated with that repetitive heavy lifting. Masonry is a tough industry. It takes a toll on your body every day that you're out there lifting heavy materials day in and day out. Presents risk for injury. And the ergonomics of the Mule obviously eliminates that. And we've seen huge gains, huge benefits. I can tell you a lot of stories, but some of the most exciting stories for me personally are when we walk on a job site and we talk to actual masons who have come up to us and shaken our hand and thanked us and appreciated, are so appreciative of the technology. They wish they had it 20 years ago, but a lot of them, they'll come up to us, they'll talk about how they've been able to come out of retirement. They haven't laid maybe block in quite a few years because they've been injured and they can only be on brick jobs. And when we hear those stories about people that are able to use their skill, to use the craftsmanship that they've developed over the years to really, I think, still have an impact in the industry, it's really exciting for us. That's what drives construction robotics. The people here at CR, I think those type of stories are really important to us. Productivity, I think that we make the material weightless. Productivity is really an unbelievable opportunity. But like we say, the Mule doesn't lay the block itself. It really makes it weightless. And so it's up to the workers, the team, the mason contractors, the people in the field to optimize their workflow, to take advantage of the fact that that material is weightless. But there's significant productivity opportunity. From an ROI standpoint, very quick ROI for both equipment dealers and contractors. And we'll talk more about ROI in a second. All right, so the other piece of value, there's kind of 2 sides of the value coin that we'll touch on here. One is, call it the hard costs. And the hard costs are really the things that can directly impact the bottom line on a project. And then you got the soft costs, the things that ultimately do cost you money, but they're maybe not directly, you don't see them on a specific project. And so the things that are the hard costs that we directly impact, right? The stake, the meat of the value that you're going to get out of the Mule is really increased productivity. So we've seen productivity changes or increases ranging from 20 to, we've got a contractor doing over 300% increase in productivity. And it's not everybody, and that's not out of the gate. It takes a while to get to that level, but we will say it's possible. And so this equipment can absolutely pay for itself in relatively short order if you apply it in the right way. And a lot of what we talk about is how to do that. Lower labor costs per block installed, the ability to install oversized materials. We'll touch on 32-inch block today and what a game changer that can be for you. Schedule reduction, right? If you can put the same crew out there and reduce your schedule, or if you can put a smaller crew out there and keep the same schedule, those are types of things that will help you bid a project, utilize the Mule and the Mule method to actually save money on that project and get it done more efficiently, faster, or bid it more competitively. And then reducing lightweight block budget, right? So a lot of contractors we talk to pay a premium for lightweight block, and there's benefits to that because of the increased productivity, because of the impact on their body, the health and safety. And sometimes lightweight is required for other reasons, but if you're doing it for the benefit of increased productivity, the Mule, when you look at the cost of the Mule over the life of it, the cost per block is actually pretty low. And every block isn't just a little bit lighter, it isn't just 15, 20% lighter, it's actually weightless. So if you see the benefits of lightweight block, I think it's worth running the calculation to say, hey, if I paid for normal weight or didn't pay the premium for lightweight, but I actually utilize the Mules instead, it opens up some opportunities to evaluate and bid projects and think about them a little different. And then the soft costs, right? So the injury costs, a back injury, $30,000 to $40,000, shoulder injury, $40,000 to $50,000. High cost of turnover. When you really look at your business and you see high turnover, I mean, you've got hiring, onboarding, training costs, recruitment costs. All those things are real costs in your business, and if you can reduce those, it has a huge impact. The cost of having some crews that can't or won't lay heavy block, right? If you've got an older mason that maybe just, if they get injured again, they're done. Giving them a tool that can prevent that injury is really impactful. And then, the cost of just not enough people to compete or complete a project, or really missing schedules, right? Those costs are very real and impactful. So want to prevent those, the Mule can help with all that. So we're going to get into ROI for a couple minutes here and talk about it. And we actually have a calculator online available if you're interested in doing an ROI analysis. If you go to our website, construction-robotics.com, under resources, there's a drop down, there's a little ROI spot. You can go to that website and play with a little calculator. We'll be continuing to improve this, so we welcome feedback on it. Continuing to improve this as time goes on. But if you look at just a 30% productivity gain on a job site, and obviously labor rates vary based on market, productivity varies based on market approaches, all these things. But just as an example, in this case, if you have labor cost per block of 575 with a 3 mason to 3 tender ratio, and you increase productivity 30%, there's really two factors that are going to save your costs. One, increased productivity because of the health and safety impact, the ability to work continuous productivity throughout longer days, the ability to put block in the wall faster, and then the ability to relook at your mason to tender ratio to potentially have a stronger mason to tender ratio so that you can pick block straight off the pallet, reduce the double handling of materials, utilize your tenders elsewhere on the job so that they're not up there needing to stage every single block. When you reduce that double handling, that actually has a direct impact of cost on your job, as you I'm sure can understand. But savings in this case can be pretty significant over a 4-week period. Savings per block, you're cutting your savings per block by 40%, or you're improving your savings per block quite a bit. So the mason to tender ratio can have an impact. Productivity has a huge impact. We encourage you to play with the calculator. Give us some feedback. Let's get into it and talk about it. The other piece of ROI that's really interesting is this whole 32-inch block story. So, your standard 8/8/16s out there are prevalent. You probably lay a ton of them every day. Well, in many, many markets, and more are continually expanding every few months, it seems, new markets are coming online with 32-inch block. The idea of a double long block is really, I think, a game changer. So double your productivity with every motion to the wall. When you couple oversized TMU and the Mule, you really have this kind of idea of the Mule method. And as Todd from Myron will talk about, it helps with schedule, it helps with productivity, it helps across the board. And we've seen multiple contractors really embrace this method going forward. And so 32-inch block is available in quite a few markets, and more coming online soon. I think that we've seen great success in a lot of markets, and I think we've seen this as a way for masonry to continue to compete, to win back wall share, to grow as an industry. And I think that once we have smart lifting tools out there, more prevalent on job sites and available, we really need to ask the questions around, what other ways can we optimize material designs? What other ways can we optimize job sites to take advantage of this technology to improve efficiency, to improve productivity on these job sites? But excited to see the continued support and collaboration with block manufacturers around the country and their ability to continue to embrace 832s, 1032s, 1232s, and other oversized materials. It's pretty exciting to see. So when you look at the ROI of doubling your square footage with each motion of the wall, you look at the ROI of 32s, it's fairly obvious, but just to kind of walk through the basics, right? If you had 100 8/8/16s and you put 89 square feet in the wall a day, and you put 100 8/8/32s, you're putting 178 square feet in the wall in a day. And your labor cost goes from roughly $576 per blocks down to $221. So you're cutting your labor costs more than half. About $40,000 is what that equates to over a 4-week period of laying 32-inch CMU. And so we've seen a lot of jobs that really get VE'd to 32-inch blocks. So it's great if an architect can specify it. If we can build that design in from the beginning, there's a beautiful long aspect ratio of that. If you remove the score, there's some beautiful 32-inch block buildings, but with the score in there, it can also be integrated with 16-inch block, no problem. And we've seen a lot of projects that have been converted to 32-inch block well after the design has been completed. They go in with a change order, get 32-inch block approved, and they're off to the races. And again, we're happy to help facilitate or connect you with the right people to learn from that process along the way. All right, materials and grippers. So we're going to run through a whole bunch of pictures, applications on the nuts and bolts of the Mule. And then we'll talk about some of the learnings and how to be successful in getting going with the mule and what the next steps look like. But from a gripper standpoint, you have the ML150, as we talked about, a whole versatile, range of grippers. We have a standard CMU gripper. We have a modular gripper. The modular gripper works great for materials from really narrow, as narrow as an eighth of an inch up to 18 inches long. And if we needed to go bigger, it's very possible we could go bigger. So when you start picking different masonry materials, that modular gripper is incredibly flexible. We've got a whole huge library of materials that have been sent from us around the country here, and we can pick them, basically all of them, with the modular gripper in some fashion. So, I challenge you, if you ever have material you think we can't pick, send it to us. We'll find a way to pick it. And then veneer gripper, our standard modular veneer gripper, is also available. Similar components to the modular gripper. The big difference is that we have a rubber pad on the cam on the front, and we have a finger on the back side that allows you to fit into a 1-inch cavity. And so I think really nice flexible product there. And then we have a hook that's pretty standard. You can, just put the hook on there, put a sling, whatever you need to grab with that, no problem. We've seen it for, even putting a vacuum gripper on the bottom that's, battery vacuum and connected to the hook. And then we have a whole host of custom grippers that we have done over the years, single, one-off pin grippers or form panel grippers or things like that, that give the ML150 versatility and have allowed us to use it in other markets. Even vacuum grippers, we picked refractory brick, we picked solar panels, we picked glass, we picked a lot of different materials with that ML150. And hopefully a lot of those grippers will start to become more standard out there as we expand the use and the availability of the ML150 in more and more markets. The MZ100 was launched with a smaller modular gripper. So it does work for material between 3/4 of an inch and up to 4.5. It can pick a veneer stone. It doesn't have a veneer finger yet at this time. So you need enough cavity in the backside to pick that veneer stone, but in general, it will work for that. And then the pro tip really here is that custom grippers are available upon request. Please reach out to us, sales@construction-robotics.com, submit to our website, and we can help you come up with a solution for picking whatever material you want. All right, so as we talked about, here's a great video showing all the different materials that we can pick with these different gripper options, whether it's a 1232, a 70-pound sound wall block, your bond beam blocks. There's really almost no materials that we can't pick with the grippers that we have available, or even these custom grippers that we talked about. So a lot of different versatile options. There you go, coming up over rebar. We've got things like rebar extensions where needed, when you're laying those big, 16-inch block if you need in these heavy rebar situations, and even SRWs. Great application for utilizing the mule, and there's a modular gripper right there with the ML150, or even veneer stone. We've got some veneer stone grippers as well. So a lot of different gripper options. You can see more videos online and check out all of our accessories as well. So the standard gripper that we have, the standard CMU gripper, great for picking standard block. And you actually do see a 48-inch block in that picture that is real. So there is a producer in Australia that has that triple block now available. And we also have offset plates that can be utilized to pick in the case where you don't have a center web, as you see in the lower right. Great for picking regular 12, split face, 32-inch block, anything like that with standard web width. Then the modular gripper, very flexible, adjustable to different width. And that modular gripper, could be used to pick a veneer stone if needed, but a lot of retaining wall, SRW block with, weird webs, even large, flat stones we've picked with that material. So again, very flexible, very versatile. It's a nice Swiss Army knife to have in the toolkit as you're picking different materials. And then the hook, this says the hook on the left, it says the veneer gripper on the right. And the hook you can see, we've picked a lot of different things. Pipes, we've picked cocoa bean bags, a lot of different materials. And then on the right, you can see, you can see pictures of utilizing the veneer grippers to pick those stone panels. When you go from a 2-man operation down to 1-man operations, it's incredible. And one of the fun stories is, one of those pictures are out there with a contractor talking about, the material they're installing and just how much the mule helps them. And one of the interesting features that they were highlighting was that as you go to the wall and you try to fit that stone into place, if there's any adjustments that are needed, when you pull that stone back off the wall, make those tweaks and adjustments to tie it in or to, shave off a little bit here and there to fit into a spot. It was incredible to have that stone just float there, pull it off the wall just a little bit, let it float in space while they made their adjustment, try it again, bring it back out, float, make the adjustments, try it again. That type of interaction without the mule is incredibly painful and time consuming. With the mule, super easy, super fast, and I think it's a game changer. All right, so additional pictures of stone. We got a great project actually going on right now up in Vermont. It's been featured in the news up there with easy scaffold, rail systems, mules, and installing these heavy 130-pound veneer stone. It's going great. The guys absolutely love it, and they're seeing phenomenal results there. All right, the bases. Let's get into some of the bases here. So one of the cool things about the two different mule products, the ML150, the MZ100, is that we actually have universal bases across the board. So, and I'll walk through each of these individually, but you've got your ground setups. So up to 20 feet freestanding on our standard ground base that has outriggers, 4 outriggers that you can level up. You put masts on top of those outriggers. The masts come in 5-foot increments and 2.5-foot increments, and you can stack up to 20 feet of those on top of that ground base with a mule, either mule, the ML150 or the MZ100 on top. We also reconfigure the fork pockets that are under the ML150 to be utilized for a mast climbing work platform deck attachment, and you'll see some more pictures of that next slide. We have a cart attachment that's just a manual wheel cart that goes under the ground base. There's mast adapters that are available for certain mast climbing masts. So you can utilize those masts either to attach to the ground base or even to attach a mule to the top of the mast. Scaffold has a rail system now available. We'll show you a few pictures of that. There's a TPX fork attachment. So we partner with JLG. There's a product now available that we can, that we sell, and it can be available for rent, which is a TPX, or really TF4000. And that one is a little stand-behind tracked forklift that we actually can operate the mule off of. So you'll see a video of that at the end potentially. And then we have an RT mount. So now we've recently been approved by JLG with their 3394 RT scissor lift, so rough terrain scissor lift that goes 33 feet in the air. 3394, they have actual mounts that are available for rent or purchase that can be mounted right to that RT. You can rent or buy those RTs and now quickly extend in the air, operate your mule from the other side of the wall from your scaffold, lower it down, move it over in a matter of minutes and get it reset up. So again, if you're using frame scaffolding or you want to load your scaffold with materials and you don't want the weight of the mule on those scaffoldings, up to that 33-foot mark, that RT becomes a very, very real, very viable mobile option that we highly encourage you to take a look at. All right, so ground setups. So the basic ground setups, you've got, again, in the upper left, you've got some freestanding setups. The standard package that comes with a mule of 7.5 feet of mast and ground base, and then either the MD or the ML arm. And in that case, very easy to set up and operate off the ground. And in the lower left, you can see a few different mast setups there, right? They've got a 7.5 feet of mast in one. They got 10 feet of mast in the other. They actually have a hydromobile mast adapter in another with 10 feet of mast, and then the MG on a ground setup. So you can see lots of different flexible options as you look at the parts and pieces that are fairly interchangeable on job sites. And the other thing with freestanding is you can integrate it right in your frame and build the frames around it if needed. The other things with some of the ground setups, again, you can see some other just applications there. Very easy to pick and move with a telehandler. Just pick it with the fork pockets up top, move it to where you want to go, set it down, level it up, and you're off to the races. We have a wheelbase, and then we've operated them also on trailers. So if you see in some of the pictures here, that wheelbase is great if you're, interior on concrete floor, you set up your mat, set up your wheelbase, you can easily drag that mule around where you want, put your outriggers down, operate it, very quick and easy to just crank the outriggers up and slide it down. With the wheelbase, you are limited to a certain height. You can't go full 20 feet. We're working on the details of that, but if you have an application question, feel free to reach out to us. We can work through that with you. And then we have had contractors that have even utilized the mule on trailers themselves. Put your material on the trailer, put your mule on the trailer, put your material right on the trailer, pull it down the wall. In the case where you're doing long, site walls or SRW walls or, long run where that mobility, can be a huge advantage. That's a great way to look at doing those projects. All right, mast climbers. And we mount both to the decks as well as the mast of most mast climbers. And we work with all the manufacturers out there. So reach out to us for more information. Again, we're happy to collaborate with any mast climber manufacturer to find a solution that works best for you. And so you can see in the center, a standard deck mount for us is to have the fork pockets on the ground. There's an adapter plate on top. There's deck straps that clamp right into the fork pockets. You have a mast on top of the adapter plate, and then the mule, whether it's an MZ or ML. And you can operate with 5 feet of mast. You can operate with 7.5 feet of mast. There's a few different options there. And then we also can mount to mast, and you can see in the upper right-hand corner, there's a couple of mast mounting options. If you want to get the mules up high and out of your way, you can mount them to the top of mast. And there's some pros and cons to those setups. The best bet there is to work with us to do a job analysis to really, I think, figure out what makes the most sense. Certain applications, it is great to use it on the mast. Other applications that can present challenges, and there's some other ways we'd approach it. So, definitely work with us, and we can help you come up with the best game plan. So I'll just quickly run through a handful of examples of the different mast climber, pictures of utilizing mules on different mast climbers. Here's some hydromobile pictures, space them. When you put a mule up on a hydromobile, if it's deck mounted, you typically want to space them out roughly 20 feet. So a mule every 20 feet. The arm itself is a 12-foot arm on either the MZ or the ML. So when you've got that 12-foot arm, you space it a little ways away from the wall, you've got about 20 feet of workable space per mule. So when you space them out 20 feet, it's great for basically the setup and the workflow on that scaffold. Some more hydromobile pictures. Here's some great stair tower pictures where they're actually able to utilize the mules on the inside of the stair tower off of a mast climber, and then wrap the outside of the stair tower to load men and materials. A whole bunch of advantages with that method, but there's a lot of pros and cons, and we'll probably do a separate, webinar and have information on, how to effectively operate on stair towers as well. And so then you can also see in the lower right, kind of your standard deck mount in the middle, and then the mast mount on the right. All right, Easy Scaffold. We also work with Easy Scaffold. Again, they can do similar deck mounting options. You also see, I think, in one of the pictures, I don't know if it's on here, that you actually can put the ground base up on really any mast climber as well. The difference is that the ground base is about 1,000 pounds heavier, is 600 pounds heavier maybe than the fork pocket setup. 600 to 1,000 pounds in that range. So if weight is not a big issue, you can just put the ground base right up on the scaffold. It is bigger and takes up more weight. The nice thing about the fork pockets and the deck straps is it is a little bit more compact, mounts directly to the actual scaffold itself. And again, with Easy Scaffold, it can mount either to the mast or the decks. Easy Scaffold has also come out with a rail system. So if you have questions on this, you can reach out to us or Easy Scaffold directly. But they have a rail system that's now available where your mules can mount on that rail system and travel, really quite a bit further. So a single mule that maybe would normally take up 20 feet of wall, you could put a 20-foot rail on there, and that mule is now picking up an additional, 20 feet. So you're at roughly, 40 feet per setup. Banu, we've been on Banu scaffolds, standard deck mounting in these cases available. And then Fraco also operated on Fraco scaffold. And again, a lot of these manufacturers have been incredible to work with, and we're happy to connect and partner with you and your scaffold manufacturer to find the right solution. And whether it's something we need to continue to develop together, or whether it's something that's already developed and off the shelf. But here's some other pictures of just different options and how we've mounted on Fraco scaffold. Crank up, we've worked on different crank up systems as well. Easy does have a rail system available for their crank up also. And then we've operated on frame and pipe scaffolding. So in this case, this does require some special engineering and approvals, but we've had customers that have used the mules right on the frame and pipe scaffolding. There's other options for utilizing the mules around frame and pipe, whether it's from an RT, whether it's freestanding from the ground, lots of different options that we could talk through the pros and cons, but this is another scenario if needed, or if it's something that's desirable. I talked a little bit about the mobility RT mount. Here's a few pictures of it. So there is actually a mounting device that sets right in the basket, clamps right on and locks in. Fairly easy to install. The mule mounts right to that. That whole unit can be picked out with a telehandler or a sling to be brought out. But in the case of, as you see in the rendering on the right, in the case where you maybe have access to both sides of the wall, frame scaffolding on one side, putting the mule on the RT on the other side allows you flexibility and immense portability that's really, mobility that's really, I think, exciting to see out there. And then we have the TF4000 available, which is a little track loader that can operate the mule straight off that. You can see, you can pull up to a job site, drive off the trailer, drive up to the wall, and you're laying block in a matter of minutes. Great for site walls. That'll only get you about 8 to 10 feet high off the ground, but again, great for low work and great for a lot of movements. Okay, so those are some of the basic pictures. We're going to spend about 10 minutes here getting into some of the right job and some of the tips and tricks, and then try to leave it open for questions along the way here. If you do have questions, feel free to throw it into the Q&A if you can, and we'll try to answer them. So what does the right job look like? We hear a lot that, hey, I'm interested in the technology, I'll try it out when I get the right job. And so the real question, are there good and bad mule jobs? I mean, the reality is that there are, but we have been on all types of jobs. And we can tell you that, I think from our experience, we can oftentimes guide you, advise you on expectations, right? The mule can work on all jobs, but there are certain jobs where maybe it's not worth it, right? Maybe it's material too light or the spaces are too tight. But there are immense opportunities as we develop more and more accessories, more and more products, there's really, I think, great opportunities there. So what the right job is for the mule, typically over 40 pounds, larger productivity gains out of the gate is what you gain with those heavier materials. Where the wrong types of jobs, again, very tight work, very light materials, and then attitude is a huge piece. So what's the number one factor in mule success? It really is attitude. I think we've seen teams out there be incredibly successful with the mule, utilize it in places that maybe we didn't think they would even be possible ourselves, and they pushed the envelope and they were able to do that because they saw the benefit from a health and safety standpoint. They thought they were innovative, they found a solution, and they were able to apply it. So attitude is huge. And really the pro tip here is know what you want to get out of the mule, right? We have contractors that do it because they want health and safety, and that's really their focus. We have some that do it, because of the masons, they want to extend careers of the masons. We have some that do it just for the productivity gain. And really the goal is that you're able to see benefits of all of those, right? All of the above. So know what you want out of the mule, and then we can help set you up for success. And we can really help you achieve it with all the right, attitude and collaboration. We will help you achieve success. All right, customer success and project reviews. So I've alluded to this a couple of times or talked about this, but we have right on our website now, if you go to construction-robotics.com, we have a resource area. One of the drop downs, we have a job planning area. You can click on that and actually schedule time directly with our customer success team. So we offer free project reviews. If you're just curious about, hey, could this project work for the mules? Would it be worth it? Is this the right type of project or the wrong type of project? And you don't really know. Go to the website, book some time with us, jump on a call for half an hour, pull up the drawings or share them with us, and we can give you all the best advice that we can on how to be successful and whether the mules make sense or not. But you can book time directly on our website, so we really encourage you to do that. And we obviously partner with all of our dealers in our different regions who offer to rent and resell mules. And so, they get connected, tied in, and we really work together as a team between us, our local dealers, and yourself to find the best solution. So why do that job analysis? It's really the best way to learn it and evaluate your projects to understand the potential ROI and the value the mule can bring. And you can work with the CR team to determine the best way to implement those mules. One of the comments I heard from a contractor recently was that pre-planning mule locations was some of the best advice that we had given them in the whole training process, was to lay those mules out and really think through the game plan. Because again, change is hard on job sites, and we want to try to minimize that pain along the way. So really the pro tip here, send us your drawing, send us your scaffold plan. We can actually, if you send us models, we can actually create models that overlay that and apply. And that really applies whether you're renting, whether you're buying, any of those scenarios. We're happy to work with you on the game planning. And so this is an example of actual project reviews that we've done where we actually looked at the walls, looked at the setups, looked at the scaffold, and determined the actual locations of the mules, what made the most sense for the scaffold, what made the most sense for the mule, and how we would recommend approaching it. Here's another example where we actually not only put the mules up on the scaffold, determine the setup, the optimal hydromobile setup for this job, what the right length of scaffold would be to optimize where the mules go, as well as determine, whether the mules should be biased towards the front of the scaffold, the back of the scaffold, and even started to lay out things like, flat plank versus drop plank, general placement of the mule, general placement of the block, what the material flow looks like. All sorts of things like that are a big piece of what we try to walk through in that job planning process. So the MZ100 also comes with an exciting feature, which is really your data analytics. So in the data piece, we actually get real-time productivity data on job sites. So how many blocks you install every day, depending on the type of, depending on which MZ you've got out there, we can see trends over time. We can see uptime, downtime. We can see things like that that can help you with planning and understanding what kind of results you can get on job sites. All right, so we're going to try to wrap it up here in the next couple slides. Again, open it up for questions, but changing would be hard. We know it can be hard. It doesn't have to be. There are really, call it 5 steps for adopting the MULE. So talk through what some of the next steps look like if you are interested in giving it a try. First step, identify a project, right? So target one with block or stone or something that has weight over 40 pounds, material that weighs over 40 pounds. Plan your project, work with our customer success team, work with your dealers, plan out the project, work with your scaffold manufacturers, understand, the 3 M's of your masonry success, your manpower, how many men you're going to put at it, where they're going to go, what your mason to labor ratio looks like, where the machines are going to go, your scaffold plan, your mule plan, as well as your material flow. So where the block pallets are going to go, how to pick off the pallets, how to reduce the double handling of your materials. Then run your ROI. So looking at rental, looking at finance, looking at purchase options, evaluating your 32-inch block pricing, accessories that you need for that project. Run your ROI. We can help you with that. And then training. We highly encourage training, hands-on training with our teams, with your dealers, to really understand and get full buy-in from your team. And get everyone comfortable with what this is going to do and why it's there to help save their backs and bodies. And then follow up, that continuous education, the buy-in is critical. And then pushing through those early challenges of adoption will pay off. That second, third job will be better than the first. And so stick with it is really the big thing. And from a pro tip standpoint, overlay the mules on the scaffold, plan the mule moves out. So, if you're grouting 4-foot lifts versus high lift grouting, how often do you need to move the mules? How do you set them up? Do you leapfrog them? Do you need mobility on an RT? Do you need double the amount of mules? All of those things are part of the planning process that we can help work through with you. And then plan out your material flow. So how do I get the materials? Do I need half pallet to block, full pallet to block? How do I get the materials in the right places so I can pick straight off that pallet and go to the wall? And then with high productivity gains, this is one of the biggest tips that we've learned as you start to look at 32-inch block. With high productivity gains comes a lot more stuff, right? You got to grout more, you got to rebar, you got more rebar, you got to plan accordingly when you have more lifts. If instead of going to 2 lifts a day, you go to 3 lifts a day, you got to plan accordingly. And sometimes that may require an extra telehandler on a job. It may require an extra mixing station on a job. So really thinking through all of those pieces is critical. And you might not get it right on the first project, but I'll tell you, if you stick with it and you start to build in those additional workflows, those additional productivity hacks, you're going to see the benefits as you go. So bidding with the mule, I think a lot of things we talked about today really apply when bidding with the mule. So when you utilize 32-inch block and mule to reduce your schedule and improve productivity, man and mule instead of a 2-man lift. So obviously projects where you normally would have an 80-pound or 120-pound veneer stone, if you can go from a 2-man lift to a single-man lift, you can do the math, and that's a way to be super competitive in the bidding process. And then reducing the cost of pre-stocking materials. We talk about picking from the pallet quite a bit. That's a big game changer to gain productivity. And then revisiting that mason to labor ratio. And again, out of the first time you bid in a project and you're trying mules, you might not be changing your bidding process, but as you get experience and you understand the optimal way to execute with mules, that affords you the opportunity to bid a little bit differently and maybe a little bit more competitively and win projects that maybe you wouldn't have won in the past. And then executing jobs with smaller crew sizes by utilizing the mule to take on more projects. So this is a really interesting hack we've heard from some of our customers where they've actually taken half the crew size they normally would to, say, tackle a stair tower, and they go out there with mules and that smaller crew, and they're able to hit the same schedule, the same productivity they would with twice the crew. And the benefit there is they're able to now do multiple jobs at the same time by spreading out their crew and then amplifying that crew that they have out there by utilizing the mules and even oversized materials in some cases. So work with us, pro tip, work with us, help with project layouts and ROI analysis. And ultimately, as you learn, you'll be able to apply those into your bidding process going forward. So what does success look like from day one? Managing expectations, to be clear of what success looks like for you and your team. Understanding, it may take a few projects to really hit your stride with this technology, but to accelerate that learning curve, the little things that do trip you up, and a lot of things we talked about here, I think are the tips that we've heard and the tips that we can provide to be on the lookout for. Those are the pitfalls and the obstacles to avoid. And then we're here to help. Remember, the mule can make really make the material weightless, but it's your team that increases productivity. And they're doing that through great planning, logistics, and execution. It's just like, you rely on your team to be great at that planning, logistics, execution, and that's how you make a living. And the reality is that it's no different with a mule. It's just a new tool that can assist the worker. So really identify, support, embrace the mule masters, those champions. So identify that champion within your team who can learn the ins and outs of the mule, just like you would if you adopt a mass climber or a new technology. You're going to want to identify somebody that can really sink their teeth into this technology, become that champion, learn the ins and outs, and then spread that throughout your team. And then avoiding the pitfalls. Don't hesitate to call us or your local dealer and invest in training, more training, and just continue to learn. We'll try to push more content out there. We welcome feedback. If you've got things that you want us to provide more information on, we're happy to do that. We know there's a learning curve, and we want to help streamline that process. But make sure the team knows that the mule is here to help them, not to replace them. We want to try to ease any fear that's out there, because I think as people that are resistant when they first see the mule get their hands on it and get comfortable with it, and we could share story after story of this, it's really amazing to see the change in them and their attitude and understanding that the mule can make their lives better and ultimately help the masonry industry as a whole. It's really, it's exciting for us to see. So I just want to take a minute and talk about, what's possible. So as you look at productivity gains on job sites, and, we all hear the big pile of success stories, but, not every job is going to be huge productivity gains, and you don't necessarily get those out of the gate. But as you continue to work at it, as you optimize your crews, your layouts, your game plans, we actually have a contractor who talked to late last year, and he was telling me how he's been using mules for quite a few years now. And he said, look, at the end of the day, some things have happened that I never thought would happen. I have no turnover in my crew. I have happier crews than I've ever had. My productivity is massively higher. I'm getting over 400 block a day, and I've got more profit than I've ever had. And so these are things that are very real and can be achieved if you stick with it and continue to utilize this technology and really embrace what it's going to do for your backs and your bodies. So as we wind up, I just want to remind everyone about what we want to offer to you, which is really the best way to experience the mule to get your hands on it. And we want to try to make mules available. We'll partner with dealers. We'll do it ourselves. But we have this free mule demo option to apply for it. So please apply for it. Let us know if you're interested. We'll work with you to try to see if we can get mules in your market and in your hands to try out. So what's next? You'll get a follow-up email. Take advantage of the free trial. Take advantage of our free job analysis. Get a quote, try it out. Rentals, financing, purchasing options are available that are incredibly beneficial. And then look for our next webinar, right? We intend to do a number of these to talk about things like productivity hacks, mule map, understanding what it means to be a mule master, complex setups, avoiding pitfalls, maximizing productivity. A whole bunch of different topics are on the horizon. Please let us know, provide feedback on what topics maybe are relevant for you or where you're struggling, whether it's adoption of mules or getting your team to embrace it or really, I think taking that first step, finding that first project, getting off the ground with it. We can help ease that. So please provide that feedback. We want to try to help the industry grow. We're doing this because I think it benefits the people out there. It benefits the industry, and we want to see masonry continue to grow and succeed. And so this is just a quick video as we close out. See if any questions, come in to address. But this is the TF4000, with the MZ100 on it, and you can see, shows up to a job site, drives off the trailer, can raise it in the air, and be laying block fairly quickly. So this type of innovation continues to come out as we partner with manufacturers like JLG to integrate our smart lifting technology into products like theirs. And I think these things make the mule more accessible, for smaller projects, for quicker setups, for quicker applications. It becomes a lot more setups. So yeah, so while we're watching this, one of the questions that came in, so how quickly can we do a free demo? Free demos can be arranged fairly quickly. Again, apply is the best way. Tell us the dates you're looking for it. We do have a handful of mules available for demos that, they do get booked up. And so it just depends. And there is a limited time frame on the free demo, but I think we will try to be as responsive as possible to meet your need. So, apply, we can turn those around fairly quick. And then lead times on new mules, MLs and MZs, we're roughly in the 6 to 8 week lead time. We try to respond a little bit faster. We have dealers that have them in inventory. So if you're renting mules, you can usually get them fairly quick, turned around pretty quickly, and even sometimes purchasing depending on your different markets. That's roughly what it looks like. But best advice we have is if you're looking at mules on a project in the future, try to plan 6 to 8 weeks in advance if you can. But if you can't, give us a call. We'll see what we can do to help satisfy what you're looking for. All right. I think that is about it. So we're gonna wrap up and close this out. Again, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to have follow-up conversations offline. We're happy to schedule follow-up meetings as well.